All right, guys, it is time to discuss Week 6 of the Caps Gaming Showcase. Again, Sleeves and Scheckel here to break down what is about to come in Week number 6. Start things off with some ridiculous luck or unlucky pick again for Composure, as we're going to discuss that in a little bit as they get yet another tough matchup. But Scheckel, real quick, give me some quick matchups that you want to keep an eye on early on before we get into the bigger ones.
Yeah, just some quick lightning round matchups here. Easy Work versus Jinx, both good teams. Both are looking to reach that next level. Jinx just swept Legacy for a very impressive win. Easy Work played Turning Point extremely tough a couple weeks ago. Got Easy Work in 3, however. Nothing to Prove versus Natty Light Knights. Just like the last series, both these are good teams trying to reach that next level. Nothing to Prove probably had a little bit tougher schedule than Natty Light Knights, but that doesn't mean anything. Got Natty in 3. Montage Moment versus the Underdogs. Underdogs started extremely slow, going 1-2 after week 3. Montage Moment struggled against Nothing to Prove without Amphass. We'll see what happens with their lineup this week. Underdogs is better than Nothing to Prove, so I got them in 2, and Montage Moment falling to 3-3. And the next matchup is the one I didn't want to see, Response versus the Forgotten. These are probably the two best teams at 2-3. They both should probably make the playoffs. This is a really unlucky matchup for them. One's going to fall to 2-4 and have a huge climb. Got Response in 3.
That is gigantic in the fact that both of these teams should be playoff teams, and you're basically, this matchup might decide which team makes it into the actual top 32, and not to mention that there basically cannot be any forfeits going forward if they want to have any shot at making the dance. But let's break down the bigger ones, the must-watch series. Kick it off for me here with Infinity and Hidden Potential.
Yeah, this is probably one of the better 4-1 matchups you're going to be able to watch. Hidden Potential, they haven't had that difficult of a schedule overall. They looked great against Legacy for 2.5 games, and should have been a staple win for them, but they collapsed in the last 5 minutes, letting up multiple goals against Legacy in the featured game of the week in week 2, and that is their only loss. Other than Legacy, they haven't faced that top-tiered team that you would expect them to face so far, so this is a very good test to see where they're at. But don't underestimate this team. They're pretty good. And then you have Infinity. They had a much tougher schedule to get here. Their key win is BBB. They beat them in 3. Their key loss and only loss is Composure. They faced them in the featured game of the week 3. Gergs has been relatively quiet up front for Infinity, at least in the games I've watched. So maybe this will be the week he breaks through, or maybe Traps and Rux keeps carrying them.
Fair enough. What do you have the series going towards as far as who wins or loses?
I have Infinity in 3, but I wouldn't be surprised if Hidden Potential wins the series either.
I will say Infinity in 3 as well. Let's move on to the next must-watch matchup.
Yeah, this is so unlucky for Composure. They have Prophecy. They've absolutely have the toughest schedule so far of any team's Composure, and they're still 4-1. They are a favorite to make the land, and their record shows why. They've had the last 4 opponents be Infinity, Resilience, Entourage, and Prophecy. All 4 of those teams are likely to make the top 8, or at least heavy favorites to make at least top 8. It's just a gauntlet for them, and they've been doing pretty well. For Prophecy, they've quietly made their way to 4-1. Their only loss was a forfeit to Dahlia. However, 3 out of their 4 wins have been only in 3 against teams that you would expect them to beat in 2. So it's a real test for Prophecy. They finally get a really tough matchup besides that Dahlia one that they had a forfeit. So it should be a really good series, a really good test for both teams to see how well they're matching up against each other. And this could be likely a final 8 matchup for who goes to land.
Fair enough. Who do you have winning this one?
I got Composure sweeping the series in 2.
I will say Composure in 2 as well. It is ridiculous how their season has gone as far as who they've played. I'll say this, though. It'll be interesting as we move on and the higher records kind of separate from the middle of the pack. Composure's played pretty much every difficult opponent that they can play possibly. So as the weeks go on, in week 7 and 8 specifically, they can't play against those guys again, so they might have an easier matchup if they can get by this one again as the season goes on, whereas almost every other team is going to have a harder time the later and later in the season goes.
They couldn't have faced 2 other 4-1s. It was us and Infinity, I believe, were the other 4-1s that they couldn't face. I would have put Hidden Potential and Prophecy as the next 2 best teams, and they got them. Like, it's just
brutal.
Insane
it's insane
luck.
Moving on to the next one, it will be the featured game of the week. This one will be at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. It'll be Turning Point versus Dahlia. This is the 2 unbeaten teams. One of them will be going to 6-0. The other one will fall to 5-1. Break down this game for me.
Yeah, so we got Turning Point. They've been quietly going about their business. They're a really good team, just getting the wins that they should be getting. Except they had a really dominating performance over Natty Light Knights last week. They won 6-2, 7-1, just demolished Natty, which wasn't completely unexpected, but I wasn't expecting that big of a goal differential. They stumbled a little bit offensively against Easy Work in week 4, only winning 3-1, losing 1-2, and then I believe they won 2-0. So their defense really stood out against Easy Work, getting those 2 shutties. They're a very good team. I don't think they get enough credit because they just reformed for Caps Gaming. They kind of split for the past couple seasons of ESHL, but when they were together a couple years ago, they were always a talk of being one of those top teams, and that's why I continue to think they're one of the favorites for LAN, at least in my opinion. But they're a really good team. They got Villain and Carlos on the wings, 2 really good players who've been around the Sixes scene. Very, very good overall team. I just don't think they're getting enough credit. Dahlia, on the other hand, they've had 2 tough matchups, and they've both squeaked out wins in 3. I'm not counting their Prophecy one because they received a forfeit win for that one. So they've played 3 top teams and got 3 wins, but can't really count a forfeit win that much. They play very, very defensive. They try to capitalize on the turnovers and use tips and deflections. This is going to be a grind for Turning Point, and depending on how Turning Point's offense handles that trap style, it's completely opposite from what Natty Light Knights showed them last week. So this should be a grind for a series for both teams, but it should be a good one.
Who do you have winning this one?
Got Turning Point in 3.
I will say Dahlia in 3. They have way more Discord clout, as they are always in there. So I will say Dahlia in 3 because they're louder. All right, and one last matchup I have to give a shout out to because their captain just will not leave me alone, and we are just disrespecting them by not talking about them enough. The Real Montage Moment, led by Clappy, the community manager himself, has willed his team to 2-3, beating From the Bushes last week. So this week they've got a big matchup because if they win and go to 3-3, Nasher's team in the fake montage moment, if they lose to Underdogs, which is kind of to be expected, they'll fall to 3-3, which means in week 7 we could potentially have montage moments playing each other, which is the content we all need and deserve. So thought I'd give him his 30 seconds there. All right, guys, that is going to do it for the Week 6 preview. Be sure to watch the Turning Point and Dahlia game on the featured game of the week, Saturday, 10 p.m. on the Capitals Twitch channel. All right, guys, have a good one.